Okay, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Burlington, and welcome to Burlington and Beyond, another edition. As a matter of fact, this is our 80th edition of Burlington and Beyond, and we've come a long way, and we have a long way to go. We've varied our guests quite a bit, and tonight we have a very special treat. Um, Bob Fahey, Robert Fahey from Burlington here, has a fascination with Burlington, the history of Burlington, how we came to be what we are, the particulars of what Burlington is all about. And I have to tell you that his website, which is burlingtonretro.com, where a lot of the things that we're going to talk about can be seen. But Bob will remind you, but let's get started. Adam, my co-host here, and I are going to see if we can get some information out of Mr. Fahey tonight with regard to what he's doing. Welcome to the show.
Howdy.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Somerville and lived there for 2 weeks. Besides that, I've been in Burlington the whole time. I live near the YWCA pool off Spruce Hill Road, and I learned to swim there. And the high school was under construction at the time, and the Fresh Spot was kind of the go-to place. And I caught Burlington around that time, and I've lived in 3 different houses in Burlington, but now I live kind of across, kind of where Burlington Jade is now, kind of in there, Lantern Lane. So what prompted me to get this rolling is the fact that I'm about to turn 50, and I could...
Wow, are you old?
Yeah, I know. And I could find virtually nothing to indicate that any of my life ever happened. None of the stuff I could recall from Burlington, there was no record of any of it. It's like it never happened. That pool, the YWCA pool, is now a neighborhood. No references to it in any little place you can find on the internet, no pictures. Anything else I can recall from childhood, it's like it never happened. Dale Pharmacy never happened. Marino's never happened. Gianelli's never happened. Sunlock never happened. Nothing ever happened. Okay.
So this is what prompted you.
Wildwood School never happened. A school never happened. No one has any pictures of it, records of it. The town doesn't even know it existed. No pictures, nothing. So I said to myself, okay, something has to change. We can't live in a town like that. That's just very unsatisfactory. We have to somehow give ourselves some more shelf life, and someone has to do it. Someone has to put it online. Take what's out there out of people's houses, which is the hard way to do it. It's not like you can go to one convenient location, one stop, and say, hey, I need a picture of this, 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 and there it is. It doesn't exist. So you have to spend a lot of time making a lot of phone calls, ringing a lot of doorbells, in some cases stalking people a little bit, because if they won't play ball, I have to walk up to them at the right time and shake their hand, which I've done with a couple of people, and then they'll open up, and then I get an article written with pictures and all that stuff. They open right up. But that initial hesitation, they don't know. I mean, people, there's a knee-jerk reaction to just say, I'm not talking to that guy. So you have to overcome that. So yeah, I've gone to some great lengths to get the material on that website. But the website has stuff that you can't find in any historical book, in the archives, nowhere except that website. Because it's all from people's private collections, and they would otherwise
Great stuff.
be tossed in the trash eventually, because the people will die. Next of kin comes in, what's this? I don't know. Gone. That's the town's culture, tossed over and over again. That's what's been done all along. That's why we can't find any pictures of anything, even from just a few years ago, gone. So now, if you at home get on and Google Marino's Pizza, Burlington, MORENO''S, Pizza, Burlington, you'll find a bunch of generic pictures of pizza that have nothing to do with it, but you'll find a couple that really are Marino's Pizza. The storefront, grand opening ads and all that stuff. You click on them, it goes to my website, because there's nothing else out there. Same goes for anything else you can think of off the top of your head from Burlington's past. You won't find it except on this website. So What I've done is I've taken things out of the abyss of time and space and put them back on
Good word.
terra firma, on the shelf with some shelf life, some durability, and so that as time passes, this will be the definitive record of this town. We have books. We have the Fogelberg book. We have Bob Costa's book. We have the Tony Fahey book about firefighting. We have Loretta Dunham book. We have some books, but those things need to be digitized, and you need to talk to living people, which those things haven't been done at all. Talk to living people because they cover almost 100 years, really.
Yep.
And that's some usable material that is a much more alive and engaging when you can have direct quotes and have the photos that go with them,
Yeah.
instead of some dry recounting of what happened.
I now have a better feeling for what your interpretation of history is. How long have you been doing this?
Since the summer. I spent basically, many hours. I spent a lot of time before the website even went live. I spent a lot of time building it in shadow mode. That means that only I can see it. So the website existed, but there was a firewall so no one else could see it, just me. So on October 1st, I pulled the firewall away. I said, here it is. And it already had material. So it was kind of a shock to the system. This was stuff that no one ever thought they'd see again. The music shop, the bowling alley,
Yeah.
all the stuff that people thought they'd never see. There it is again, alive. And from that point on, it became a little easier to get people to play ball with me because I can say, here's the website, look at it.
Yeah.
Oh. So here's a good example. I was doing a little thing about Busted's Dairy. Busted's Dairy was on Wilmington Road up in a little driveway. It's
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Now I remember. Yeah.
Busted's.
Huh.
So I was
There's
talking
an example. I would.
right.
Okay.
I was talking to Joan Busted. Looked into the family. I found an obituary for Evelyn Busted. One of the people who wrote in to say, you know, hey, sorry, blah, 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 was a guy named Bill Kerrigan. And he mentioned his hometown. Now, I had just been talking to someone else, Herb Crawford, about Kerrigan Farm. I was saying, I bet you that's the same guy. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send a message in a bottle. I'm going to look up on the internet again, find this Kerrigan carrier. I found a Bill Kerrigan in the correct city. Sent him a letter saying, hey, if you're the Kerrigan from Kerrigan Farm, I've got a history website with the link. See, that's the thing. Go to this website. All of a sudden, a week later, I get an email. I had the right guy. He sent me a picture of Kerrigan Farm. This is Marshall Simons Middle School now.
Yeah.
Okay. So he sent me a picture of the front yard of Marshall Simons Middle School with the very familiar buildings in the background on Wynn Street, you know, going up next to St. Margaret's, those old
Yep.
buildings are still there.
Yep.
And the house in the corner of Peach Orchard, and all, it's all very recognizable.
Yep.
But instead of a parking lot, there's a big white horse pulling a plow where Connors and a body would be parking now.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that when you have a website that people can see, now they trust you. You're not some quack who says he's writing a book
Yeah.
that may never materialize.
Mhm.
It's already there.
Yeah, you've got a lot of substance.
You've
in,
got it.
Yeah.
Nielsen's Bike Shop. Here's an example of how technology can make things happen that would never happen otherwise. Okay. I found an obituary for George Nielsen, the guy from Nielsen's Bike Shop. Okay. Mentioned that he had a daughter. Found her on Facebook in about 1 minute. Sent her a message with the website and what I was trying to do. She was bowled over. She was so excited that I was interested in her father. She said, wait, hang on 5 minutes. She was sitting in an office, and on her wall, right next to her, 2 feet from her head, was a picture of her father's grand opening
Oh, really? Wow.
from 1952 or 3.
Yeah.
What are the odds, right?
Yeah.
Grand opening, Nielsen's Bike Shop, him at the counter, ready for business on day 1 at age 29, and all the inventory. So
Excuse
she
me.
transmitted that to me in 5 more minutes. So I had that put together, and I got a quote from her about she learning how to chain the bikes and all that, the ethics of her father. Put that together right away.
Mhm.
Now, without the internet, without social media, without smartphones, how would I have ever put that together? Never. The answer is never. Instead, it was a 10-minute.
I don't know about never, but it would have certainly been.
I never could have done it.
Yeah.
I never would have had the
wouldn't
time.
have done it.
Never could have.
No, there's no doubt about it. Those tools have facilitated a lot of research.
Right.
I have to agree.
Right.
But more important than that is, I think, what you are putting together for the future. For those who, I don't know, perhaps not born yet here at Burlington, or people of Burlington, your children, for example, you know?
Absolutely.
You're going to be someday, whether I'm sure you'll believe, you'll be 60, 65, and your kids will be in their, 25, 30, something like that. And Dad, what was it like back there, you know? And here's the record. That is significant value.
Right. So most towns will never have this kind of project because it takes too much work. It's too unglamorous. There's no money in it. I don't want money. It's not sexy.
Yeah, but it has a kind of special allure, especially for the established population. I'm not talking about people. It might even be, I don't know, how long have you been in Burlington?
I've lived in Burlington for 11 years at this point.
Oh, it is?
You know,
okay, you've been here for a while.
You know, I got a nice chuckle out of it. I spent a nice rainy Saturday afternoon, probably killed about 2 hours.
His program.
Well, yeah, looking through pictures and reading some of the, the passages that were included. Now, here's a question I have for you. This started with a quest to get your hands on a picture of the YWCA pool. At what point, when you got the picture, did the light bulb go off? It started with that quest. Did you know you were going to put the picture online once you got it?
No. All I knew was the clock was ticking before I'd never find it at all, because anyone who had one would die.
Okay.
So it had me thinking about how much time has actually passed and how short life is, how short human life actually is, when my neighbors from when I was a kid are all gone, or just about gone. And I'm saying, you know, someone has to slow this down, slow down the clock, get people while they're still here, while they have the material, before it lapses. So it actually has given me a great appreciation for older people now. Because instead of just being kind of a pain, no, this is valuable people.
Yes.
Valuable. So
I like that.
I don't see old people. I don't see old people the same way as before I did this. I see it very differently. If I'm walking through town, I see an older guy or a gal, I want to talk to them.
All right.
I want to talk to them. If I'm at the town common at a town event, I'm looking for white hair.
Gotcha.
Okay? And I'm right after them, and I'm talking to them.
And I bet that website, like you said, is pretty valuable, because I bet some of these older people think you're probably trying to con them on something. They see a young person come up and try and strike up conversation.
Right. So in the ideal world, what this will do is get more than one generation to be looking at the same stuff. And with the internet, you can share information quickly to each other. They'll be looking and appreciating the same material. One important draw on the website is all the yearbooks. This is important because it crosses 2 generations, maybe three generations of high school graduates are on the website. So anybody of any age will find that to be interesting to look at. So right there, we've got 3 generations looking at the site. So that overlap is very important, because that's how a culture develops, when you have a multi-generational conversation. Because otherwise what you have is some people move into town, they work, they get old, they die. Their kids throw away everything that they accumulated in the trash, start over again with a big reset button, and then nothing has any lasting meaning. That's what we were doing. So I think over time, this site will help prevent that cycle, so that things will have some sort of durability and some meaning over more than one generation. That's what a culture is. When the street signs mean something, when people can look at a scene and have a before and after knowledge of it, not just after, before and after knowledge of it.
Now it becomes context.
Right, have context. Now, if you go to a place like Martha's Vineyard, Marblehead, Concord, every acre means something to the people who live there. All the names mean something. And Burlington will get a little nudge in that direction now. Just a little nudge now, but it's going to be a bigger and bigger nudge as time passes because this website's not going away. It'll get more and more material on it, and it'll become more and more special and more unique, with all the other towns around us having nothing like it. Nothing. I mean, even the really ritzy towns have nothing like this website. Nothing at all.
Bob, do you feel that you have begun to put together a lifetime of work?
Yes.
I mean, there's no.
I'm not going
to
to stop. I'm not quite 50. I could be doing this for another 40 years, or who knows what. So yeah, this is the beginning of something that's going to be very, very important. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the parameters of the material that you have accumulated?
Yeah. It's all within one human lifespan. I'm talking to people who are, in some cases, in their late 90s. Late 90s. There's a woman on there who ran the World War II ration stamp system for this town.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm talking. It's a living history, and that's going to be a moving band of time, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So people that I'm talking to now will die within a few years. They'll be gone, but they'll survive there.
Mm-hmm.
That'll keep moving along. In a few years' time, many of the people I'm talking to won't be around, but they'll be there. What they said is there. Their photos are there. Their role in the town is there. The first pizzeria, whatever. It's all there. So the other thing I'm going to start doing is documenting right now, 2017,
Mm-hmm.
so that after I'm gone, someone doing what I'm doing will find all kinds of videos. I'm going to get a dash cam and just simply make mundane videos going around town, all the main streets, and just save them. That's the most boring thing in the world right now. And it would have been the most boring thing in the world to do in 1950, but it wouldn't be boring now.
Right.
To watch 1950.
Right.
It would be very interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No one thinks that their current time will ever be quaint. Your brain doesn't work that way.
No.
You say, this is how it's going to be.
Today. Every day is today.
Right. Well, you think, this isn't going to change. This is how it is. This is how it's going to be. Well, you know how many people I've talked to who are now 80 or something years old saying, if we only knew that this place would change this much, we all would have grabbed cameras, even the equipment would have been junk, we would have taken pictures and saved them, if we only knew. Well, I guarantee every generation makes the same mistake. They don't think that their current time will ever be quaint.
Time goes by too fast. You don't have time to think. You're preoccupied with so many things.
However, now when people say that they don't care about history, I was a D- history student. D- in Mr. Hoyt's class in high school. D-. People are not interested oftentimes in the academic history that is force-fed them at school. However, everyone likes to reminisce. That's history. Everyone has a soft spot for their own personal nostalgia, their own family, their own little parochial history. So everyone has some interest. The question is, why don't people think of it this way? Ready? Everyone makes a scrapbook of their own family. Their kids, they take pictures because they know it's going to be interesting to look at later. And they're right, it is interesting. They take videos of the most pedestrian, mundane things. They're boring now, they're boring in 5 years, but then around 6 or 7 years, they're all interesting to watch. And they take pictures of, let's say, their house, their spouse, a home project before and after. All those things people do, that's history. If you back out the camera a little bit, you go to a company, you go to a school, some sort of a church, there's oftentimes a scrapbook there also. It's more people involved, it's a bigger institution, but it's the same principle. It's the people and the building, just to have some sort of a time capsule. I'm going one step, I'm backing up the camera, one more step. The whole town is the family. All the structures are the house. And I'm doing a scrapbook. The same principles, the same mechanisms, but on a bigger scale. That last leap, that last click of the camera is a big one because it's a big undertaking. And it requires a lot of work to take scattered material that's hiding in people's basements, attics, that even they don't know they have, because so much time has passed, people honestly don't know what they have.
Right.
Or one day they know they have it, the next day they forget because they're old.
Right.
You know how many people have told me, I don't have anything? Then I end up in their house, and I say, what's all that over there? Oh, this is old pictures. See? Old pictures.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Old pictures of what? Oh, I don't know. Can I look at it? Yeah, okay. You know how many things are on that website? Because I persevered to get people's own photos that they insisted they didn't have, and they did have them. Not because they're trying to be deceitful. They honestly don't know what they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they know they have photos, but they don't think like a journalist, or certainly like a historian. They don't think there's anything interesting about this old picture of their father's grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's Carpenter's store. That's Village Grocery. That's long gone. That was right in front of A.J. Rose, where the Armani Prom outlet is now, that little building. That was the town's grocery store until big bad IGA came and knocked them out.
Right.
That's an interesting photo. Yeah, it is interesting,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah.
Overall, speaking of the parameters of your, do you have 20 pictures of Burlington? 50?
Hundreds.
I mean, I haven't visited your website yet.
Don't worry
I
about it.
apologize, and I will spend
Hundreds. And they're all exclusive to the website. They're all exclusive to the website. Hundreds.
Wow.
And you can't find them.
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Oh my God.
And you can't find them anywhere else. They're all 100% exclusive.
That is.
There are 3 photos on that website in the early days that I did go to the town archives. I got one of Terrace Hall, which is the namesake of Terrace Hall Ave. There was actually a house at the end, a big fancy house, and it had a terrace. You know how Terrace Hall is really steep? Well, the front yard was these terraces.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big fancy, it was used as a function hall, so it was Terrace Hall Ave. Okay. It burned down in 1940, but I got a picture of that I got from the town archives. And there's a picture of a woman standing at the corner of Sear Street and Wynn Street at what used to be a trolley stop.
Right.
Only because I did an article about the town's first skating rink. Before there was an ice palace, some guys built, they rigged a skating rink right at that corner. They put up some boards, and there was natural water that came down the hill. So all they had to do was collect it. And they rigged up lights. That was the skating rink. And it was like an organized league, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That was the rink.
Oh, for God's sakes.
So anyway,
do
there's a couple.
Do you recall, I'm not even sure, I've heard it, the Root Packing Company that used to be on Cambridge Street? They packed ham, they grew hogs.
Reed's Ham Works.
What is it?
Reed's Ham Works?
Reeds.
No.
Reeds, that's it. I'm sorry, I said Roots. Yeah. It's Reeds, yeah.
Reed Ham Works is kind of a well-known.
Yeah. And they used to sell barrels of pork
to
the military.
Yeah. The complex that for more recently had 128 Electric, that big building.
Yep.
And there was a rent tool that burned down, but there was a rent tool kind of barn.
I remember it.
Okay, and there was Barker Lumber back there.
Yes.
Okay, that complex and the old house there, that was all part of the Reed's complex.
Okay.
So yeah, that was Reed's Ham Works. They'd buy pigs from the piggeries, of course the town had many of those. They'd buy the pigs, process them there, slaughter them, and make ham. And there's a woman who works at the florist there who says once she was a few years ago in the attic of the garage behind what is now, there's a landscaping company back there all by itself, a masonry company, a mason.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Behind the gate, that used to be...
behind Lakash's back there. Anyway, one time she was up in the attic of the garage on a hot day. It smelled like ham.
Really?
That's because they smoked the ham in there, and those beams still smell like ham.
Oh my God.
To this day. And I was in the basement there, and the basement is slanted, and it has these big grooves in it because that's where they slaughtered the pigs. So all the guts had to go down to one end of the place so they can gather it up. So yeah, I've written about that because
when we first came to where I'm located on Skilton, across the way. As a matter of fact, the gentleman who lives across the way, Lenny, can't think of his last name, but is a very old house. It's been there for, he's sort of rebuilt it, but been there for, but behind there, when we first moved there were high raised chicken coops by the hundreds.
That was Rahanis Farm, that's why.
Okay.
Rahanis Farm. And Mr. Rahanis died in 1962. I have pictures of him on the website, and his wife. He died in 62. In 66, the town burned down the house on purpose and made it into Rahanis Park.
Okay.
But I've got an article on there about a guy, Dave Runyon, Mike Runyon's brother,
Yeah.
who grew up right there, and about the wonder and the fascination of that farm when it was abandoned, but still intact. The farmhouse was intact, unlocked, fully furnished.
Mm-hmm.
The kids would go in there and do whatever they wanted. There were 2 Volkswagen Beetles out there, unlocked. There was all kinds of other farm paraphernalia. There was people would go on a rope swing over the rivers, and it was just a wonderland of fun. And then the town ruined it, according to the article, by making Rahanis Park. They should have left it alone.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm trying to find is a picture of the Rahanis farmhouse before they burned it down.
You're trying to find.
I'm trying to find a picture of that farmhouse. I have a picture of Mr. and Mrs. Rahanis. He was an immigrant from Turkey. He was a pig farmer right there.
I didn't know that.
I'm trying to find a picture of the house. It's right where home plate is now, at the ball field.
Right.
It was sitting right there.
Yeah.
So that's one of those challenges. I've even talked to some of the people I know who live at the other end of the neighborhood there to see if maybe they somehow got it in the background of an old picture. It's a long shot.
I have another. Can you tell me about Carol's?
Carol's?
Carol's. I don't know if it was diner or.
Carol's Pizza and Subs, and it had a little ice cream attachment.
It was called Pizza and Subs.
Carol's Pizza and Subs. That's what the sign says. Carol's Pizza and Subs, and there was a little ice cream add-on at the end.
This is where Dan DiTucci's Cleaners is, and
Oh, okay.
the Jade Restaurant. It was located there. That building wasn't there.
Yeah.
And this Carol,
Yeah.
I have to add my 2 cents here. This Carol that that business was named after. I didn't know until I opened my pizza shop. I found out that it was named after a girl that I dated in high school.
No kidding.
In Malden High School, yeah.
Now,
Carol Tombione.
one thing that I noticed on the website is I remember the old Woodward's package on Middlesex Turnpike.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know a member of the the Woodward family, and I said to him, I said, your family, before they owned the package store, there was a diner or a luncheonette, it was called. And he said, oh yeah, that was my grandfather's business.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really funny the things that you learn from.
One of the things I'm working on is a story about the children of the Middlesex Turnpike, because right now no one can conceive of kids growing up on that road, but that road was not like it is now. It was like Mill Street. It was just a road. So there were several families: the Hines family, Woodwards. Actually, I think the oldest business that still is on Middlesex Turnpike in Burlington is Ned's Towing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the Donato kids actually lived just over the border in Lexington, but they grew up with their father at that location.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got all kinds of stories about going to Woodward's for lunch, and then across the street where Burger King is now, there was a field, there was a big tree, and a tire swing, and they'd play there all the time. They'd play football on Middlesex Turnpike.
No kidding.
This is before the mall. So then when the mall came, Woodward's store, the business went up. I mean, all of a sudden, ding, 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 off the charts, right? So there's a comprehensive, that website has a comprehensive, I mean really comprehensive history of the mall, from the Acme sand and gravel pits that were there, and I got pictures of that, all the way to present days, and every little step of the way, and exclusive photos that I got from a woman in Vermont. These are photos that were in a file, her father's work file. Her father was a mall publicist, John Hanron. He was kind of like the regional mall specialty guy. He'd do the PR the photo ops, they write the press releases, get the hype going about these malls that were opening up. So I found her in Vermont, and she spent a great deal of time working with me to track down his files. And she finally shipped them to me, and I opened them up, and here's the original, like, car show at the mall, the original children's events at the mall, the original ribbon cutting picture of the mall road.
Wow.
All in that box. So that's all on the website. So again, if this website were a monetized, if it were a money-making enterprise with advertising, and if I were trying to drum it up and advertise it, people wouldn't cooperate this much. They wouldn't go to this length like she did to get me that stuff, because if it's an altruistic thing, people will try.
I agree.
They'll help you.
Yeah.
So that's why I can never make money with this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Do you
work.
ever think about writing about it?
What do you mean? A book?
Writing the story of what you're doing, what you've accomplished.
Well, the website is the story. But years from now,
who knows?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
There's a lot to write about.
Yeah.
Once the words come and you begin to think memories alone, where words will just flow.
Yeah. But right now the focus is talking to people like you who participated in the shaping of Burlington as we know it now, okay? While you're still here. That's the important thing. While you're a sound mind, still here, that's the goal. And it's a race against time, because again, I'm talking to people who are 98 years old in some cases. So I can't just put that off. I got to get them right now. One of the first things I did, because I had a source lined up. One of the first things I did on this website is get everything I could about the Nike missile site.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I was growing up, and still most people out there are completely wrong about the whole operation. They have no idea. All they know is that hill behind Windermere is the Nike missile site. What that means, who the hell knows? Were there missiles up there? Who knows? What were in those buildings? Who knows? No one knows anything. Well, you can, if you go to right now, go to your computer and type in straight shooting about Nike missiles. That's the article. You'll click it and you'll know all of a sudden everything there is to know about that site. Everything, with pictures of the radar equipment up on the hill, where the missiles were, the missiles themselves, what was in every one of those. I've got every one of those buildings on Windermere diagrammed. This was in that with pictures. That was in this. This was in this. Because there's a police officer in town who was there for a year and saved his pictures.
Wow.
Simple as that.
Wow.
So it's all there. You can go from being completely ignorant to extremely knowledgeable about that whole operation on that one article. And even background about the whole operation, the dew lines, distant early warning, and how the radar worked, and there's a guy sitting there with the proverbial red button in his hand. It's all there. That was It's important that I grab that right away to get rid of a suburban legend. I don't like suburban legends. I like to get the facts. So that was one of them. The other one was Sawmill Road. Sawmill Road is off Mill Street.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long dirt road,
Mm-hmm.
and there used to be an A-frame house in the end for a couple of decades.
I know.
The A-frame house.
Yeah.
It was Dick Scott, your former neighbor, well, on Skilton Lane. He lived on Skilton Lane for a while he was building his dream house in the woods.
Who was this?
Dick Scott.
Oh, yes, that's right. You're right.
Dick Scott.
Scott's. Yes.
He had a Volkswagen bus.
Yeah, my wife knew them very well.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the other urban legend I had to quickly get to the bottom of. I had to reach out, find the Scotts, get that cleared up, because I don't. That's one of those other things that there's all kinds of misinformation.
What was the legend? Because I'm not privy to this.
If you Google Sawmill Road, Burlington,
Okay.
you'll find ghost stories, suicide stories, horror stories.
Oh wow.
Because there was a funny house at the end that all of a sudden vanished. And that's all there is. That's all you need to start the mind working. Why was that house there? Why was it so strange? Why is it gone? How did someone get a house built way down there? And there were ambulances down there sometimes because there was some, I don't know what kind of health problems there were. But that's all it takes to get the mind working. So I had to dispel all that. So those, like the first 2 articles I wrote, first 2 or 3, was those 2 things, to get those cleared up right away.
Okay.
Then move on to getting people, while, like that woman who did the World War II ration stamps, while she's around, and she can talk about that. Because if I wait next year, will she have dementia? Will she have Alzheimer's? Will she be around? I don't know.
God forbid anything could happen, yeah.
You got to get her right now.
Right.
So, and I did something about the guy who founded Win Street Service. Okay, Win Street Service is now a heavy-duty tow truck company.
Tow truck, yeah.
Down near Donahue's Furniture, which I'll be doing Donahue's Furniture too, by the way. They're closing. I've been talking to Dave Donahue a lot. I'll be working on that. But the guy who founded Win Street Service on Win Street, when it was just a little garage, okay, he's still alive. Tim Santry. It took me a long time to get that guy, because he was a kind of a shy guy. He didn't want to be bothered. I finally had to pull over my car when I saw him, walk over to him, shake his hand. He was standing there talking to Warren Cummings from Cummings Properties. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And finally he opened up, and I got a good article about him.
About him.
Good article about that guy was like the de facto town mechanic. He would build the town's fire tankers himself. He'd build them.
Mm-hmm. Question.
Yes.
St. Margaret's Church.
Yeah.
Do you know where it was located?
I have the original well, not the original. I have the St. Margaret's on the fork.
Yeah, on the fork.
I have it.
Right.
I have it. I got 2 photos of that.
Okay.
But the woman who's 98 years old told me, no. St. Margaret started in a rented space in a bar on what is now Beacon Street. That's where it began.
I would be going to church more.
And that was backed up by Herb Crawford, who's also an article.
You're absolutely right. Now I remember. I have heard that story.
Okay, so he said it worked out great because all the drunks from the bar would be passed out, and they'd wake up and they'd go to church under the same roof.
Yeah.
So wait, and then there was you were saying at the Fork there was another
Yeah, you
location.
know where the Fork is? Yeah,
Yeah.
they had a wooden building of St. Margaret's before they built the one where it is now. That Fork right there on between what is
Win-
it?
Where Shaw's is now?
Nope.
No.
okay.
Win
right next
Win
to
and Center. That really tough fork where there's accidents.
Oh, okay.
You
No
know,
kidding.
they took those houses there recently.
Yeah.
It used to be
Center Street.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Center Street and
Used to be like seasonal Christmas tree business there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well that was I get pictures of the St. Margaret's, the little one that was right there. Yeah. There's also there's a Herb Crawford, the fire chief from 1955 to 1985. Okay, I've been at his house many times. There's an article there about, it's called "When Your Farm Becomes Route 128, It's a Tough Road to Hoe." So he laid it all out. He said, listen, there was a fire in Beverly. Prior to 128, there was no 128. There was a fire in Beverly. They called down to Burlington because we had a water tanker, probably built by Tim Santry, by the way. But so off he went to fight the fire in Beverly. It took him a good hour to get there because there was no highway. 128 was like a Route 62. It was a meandering road. He gets there, puts the fire out. The guy comes up to him and says, looks at the truck and says, "You guys came all the way from Vermont? Wow, that's a long way." He said, no. He took him around the front to look at the license plate. Massachusetts. The guy says, "You guys are from Massachusetts? Where the hell is Burlington, Massachusetts?" Okay, this is Beverly we're talking about. Beverly. So that's Herb Crawford. Now, little did he know, 3 years later, there'd be state engineers in his front yard putting stakes out there.
128.
128.
Yeah.
On his farm.
Oh.
So he's telling me this story. So all of a sudden they take the family in. You win. Highway going through your yard. Here's your payoff, $1. Now get out of the way, please.
Wow.
So that's the story of 128, and how they cut right through his farm with the highway. He still owned a triangle out in Windermere, a property, but it was a pain in the butt to get there. You had to keep going around and around and around. His father finally gave up and sold that. That became those funny streets, anything that side of Newbridge, Crawford Road, Sunnyside, all those Sylvester. Those all became big because he decided to give up that triangle, and then he sold the other part. It became Beacon Village. There you go. You
Well,
know,
I'm just looking to see how we're doing for
We
time.
got a little bit of time left.
How many minutes? I can't see.
We've
Oh.
got about 12 minutes left.
Oh,
so
fascinating stuff. Go ahead.
just a word about human mortality. I'm an atheist. I think that everything I do, there's a clock ticking in the background. Okay, it's always ticking. I'm 50. I'm on the last half of the green. I'm on the what do you call it in golf? The
Back nine.
The back nine. I'm on the back nine. So I'm thinking, what can I do with this back nine that's going to have a lasting impact on the world? Probably nothing, but I can have a lasting impact on my town. So it's a kind of a humanitarian gesture, I guess. I'm trying to take the things around me, the people around me that I can possibly capture, and preserve it in a digital format, in a engaging, youth-friendly manner. So it's color, photos, not a whole lot of not a wall of gray text to look at. It's broken up. It's a pleasant thing to look at. There's a lot of negative space, and to try to get culture moving in this town. Because I think about death quite a bit, more than most people, I'd say. I mean, sometimes I wake up, I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and say, so that's what death is like, just blank. It's not bad, it's not pain, but that's what it's like being unconscious. And that's what it's going to be like someday, forever. I'm not coming back. So,
Call it a legacy.
yeah, posterity. Posterity for at least some people, as best I can do.
You're prolonging their memories.
Yeah, trying to do something.
I think it's an interesting way to leave your mark on the world.
Yeah, and when I'm talking to people, I don't think they realize that this is going to be their only legacy, is me. At the end of their years, all they're going to have left out of all the stuff that they've accumulated, all the knowledge, all the things that they've experienced, is there going to be nothing left of it except me and this site.
All of the pictures that they have taken, all of the memorabilia that they have collected goes, for the most part, in the trash,
Right.
or is discarded. Even if you're lucky and it goes to your children, they don't pay much attention to
No.
it. As a matter of fact, even during one's lifetime, the adventures that early on you experience, you tend to put on the shelf one way or another, and you, like you said early, you don't realize the days go by and you're pretty busy with what you're doing now. That's, so you're you're succeeding in putting all of this together. I wonder why you evidently haven't considered writing your story about having done this. Doesn't have to be a major publication.
Well, I'm not done. I'm just beginning.
Well,
And that would take time away from, again.
I'm trying to instill the idea.
Okay, it's there. But again, that would take time away from getting people like you on the record while you can think.
Why?
While you can think. While you can still think.
I think. Okay.
Get you now, not
Yeah.
6 months from now.
Yeah,
Now.
I know.
He's in a race against time.
Race against time.
And it sounds a little bit sad. I feel the direction that we're going on in the passage of time, it's a little bit sad. You guys are making me a little bit sad. But this is a really fun website. I saw, tell me a little bit about the Flying Saucer restaurant?
Okay, what I'm going to do is go to Dunkin' Donuts, where a lot of old people hang around, and I'm going to put, I'm trying to work with the owner, Andy Weiner.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to get him to call me back, but I want to go in there, put a $50 gift card on the table at the counter, and say, this is yours if you can bring us a photo of the Flying Saucer restaurant that used to be on this property. That's all you got to do. Bring in the photo,
Wow.
you get the $50 gift card.
When was it? I don't remember it. I
Roughly
remember
1950 to 1960-ish, right there.
50 to 60?
Yeah, Joe Gallipo Jr. I reached him in Arizona. His father had the place. Okay, so
What
I have.
was it? What, it was a.
It was a truck stop. It was a greasy. It was in fact the title of the article is called "Unidentified Frying Objects."
Okay. Do you know who owned the donut shop? I can't think of his name. Young guy owned the donut shop before the Dunkin' Donuts building that's there now.
I mean, Mr. Donut.
No, there was another one, privately owned. I can't think of his name. It'll come to
Donuts
me.
and
I'll
More?
write it down.
Donuts
Young
and
man.
More?
I knew him.
Donuts and More.
Pardon me?
Was it Donuts and More?
That may have been the name of the shop.
I've seen the name.
Ran
Like
it. He, as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, he dated one of the Murray girls early on. I can't think of his name. It'll come to me.
I don't know.
Maybe Frank will help me when we finish the show here.
Yeah.
At any rate,
But
you're stoking a lot of memories.
yes, flying saucer is one I don't have. I want a picture of the flying saucer. Going back a little further now, that same property was Kimball's Ice Cream Parlor. Not Kimball's like in Westford and Carlisle, different family. There was a family from that have a band from Woburn come in and play on the roof of the ice cream parlor. And there was a golf driving range. You hit the ball where Dunkin' Donuts is, and it would go into where, like Thomas Street, that neighborhood behind there. That's where the balls would go. It was a golf driving range there.
Right.
A picture of that would be kind of cool, but now we're going back to pre-photography. But the other thing, the Gray Squirrel. Gray Squirrel was a bar room located right where the car wash is now on Cambridge Street.
Oh.
It still exists. It was moved back to 4 Chestnut Ave. It's now a private residence. And they bricked over it so it looks kind of uniform. It was part fieldstone and part gray shingle. It was a long thing. It was a fairly upscale bar room that attracted the tannery executives from Woburn who would otherwise pass through Burlington to go to Pinehurst to stop there. So that was kind of a significant thing in Burlington because we didn't have a whole lot of draw. That was the one kind of upscale thing that would get people with money. So the people who lived there want me to find a picture of their place when it was the bar room. I'm having trouble with that one because now we're going back to 1930 and 40. But in their attic, they mentioned to me, hey, wait a minute, we did find something. Sure enough, they found a honor roll certificate and a graduation thing for Claire Murphy, who I did some research. Yeah, that was the family that had the property. It's a long story, but that's also a really tough one to find. The Gray Squirrel Bar Room. I think it was spelled with an E-Y, Gray Squirrel. So anyone out there who's got a picture of the Gray Squirrel,
Call in.
or the IGA,
Yeah.
or the IGA food liner. Now, you see anyone out there taking pictures of Shaw's? No, because it's too boring, right?
Right.
Well, everyone did the same with the IGA. Why would take a picture of the IGA? Who cares?
Yeah.
Well, now it's interesting, right? Luckily, I got Almies. There's two or three good ones of Almies there, because John Coniaris, the owner of State Road Liquors, happened to have one. You know, it's a miracle that these photos exist because it's a mundane thing. Why would you ever take a picture of a plaza and save it for 60 years?
Another. Have you been to the Escadrille?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Ted Murray?
Yeah.
On the wall there, they've got 4 or 5 plot plans of Burlington as it was. You've seen them.
Yeah, the maps. Yeah. There were some people who are really into maps. I'm not really into maps very much. Another one I'm working on is Kent Cottage. You're gonna say, huh? Kent Cottage is the old stone house that's a real anachronism. It's right across from where RCA used to be, the Sun Micro complex, right across Middlesex Turnpike, kind of in the woods. It's all by itself in there, a lonely house. But that was like a vacation home for a rich brewer. And the last family that occupied it was the Burns family. And I'm working with a guy who had some connection there to write his own piece about that property and the whole area when it was totally different. I mean, there was a swim hole, right? There was a popular swimming hole at the end of Terrace Hall Ave and Middlesex Turnpike. That was the town's swimming hole. Now it's just it's a swamp.
When I told my mother that my wife and I were going to be building in Burlington, she called it the frontier. It was a bit of a frontier at that time. Yeah, Medford, Malden, Somerville was part of Boston. That was the populated area. This was brand new. The Graham family, you know about, John Graham in particular?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, so share.
Oh, he was a major. Another thing, he was a major builder in town here,
Okay.
and had a big family, very nice wife, and everything. They built a home in Bedford on what is that, Great Road, and but his company was here in Burlington. He built my home, and he built my whole neighborhood. Another thing that interests me is all of those slab homes
Yeah.
that are being replaced now with these $1 million properties. The story was told, by whom I can't remember, that those slabs had an agreement to, or they could change the slab, they could rebuild it, they could do whatever they want, only after 50 years. Depending, each contract, every one of them they sold. That was, I can't even think of it, not Giantelli, an Italian name, builder, Campanelli Homes. He was part of it. And my understanding was that was the agreement. Only after 50 years. In other words, you have to keep the slab. Even if you sell it to someone, same agreement is. I don't know how they could enforce that.
Wonder why they did that.
But now they're being replaced one after another.
I know. So that old
Maryvale is
the character.
They're almost all brand new homes.
I know.
Yeah.
So the character is gone.
Oh, very much.
There was a
changed,
there was a character. It was kind of a 50s character, but it was a character.
Yeah.
The little, the little gable and little. It was kind of like a George Jetson.
We're running close, I think.
Got about 5 minutes.
What is your personal enjoyment in this?
Personal enjoyment is when I get material that is
appropriate, pertinent.
When I get material that has a certain kind of a vintage quality to it that you would never otherwise see, because it would have been trashed. But now I've got it, like your stuff that I'll be publishing soon, or Gianelli, Rick Gianelli, a picture of the storefront, things that you would never ever see again if it weren't for this website. The bowling alley was a big one. Bowling alley.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that never existed either until I came along to make it exist again. The music shop, that was a very important store for a lot of kids. The music shop was a place where you went. There was no Tower Records. You went to the music shop. You talked to Jim Hart behind the counter. He was the mentor. He was like your mentor.
I saw the pictures. That was pretty cool.
Right.
Because I grew up going to Strawberries at the Caldor Mall.
Okay. This is
But
before that.
Before that, but that's
before that.
cool. Because those places don't exist anymore.
The guy. So when you get something like that, and you've got it preserved, you've got it now. It's preserved. When he's gone, it doesn't matter. I've got him. And all the kids that went there can say, that was the place, that was the guy. I've got the picture, the interior, the exterior of the place. It's very satisfying. I've saved it from the abyss, right? The abyss of space and time. I grabbed it, and I snatched it. I cheated death. Here. There it is. And that's where it's going to stay. I feel like I've cheated the Grim Reaper.
Okay.
You know?
That's a nice answer.
Nothing's permanent. I mean, even the planet Earth's not permanent.
Yeah.
But that's as close as I can get.
You're making an effort to stop time for a minute.
Yeah.
Just have a look at it and see what happened,
I feel like
we did and who they were.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Dan DiTucci?
Oh, yeah.
His father, who
Yeah.
had the cleaners
Yeah.
in that same building where I was located.
Yeah.
They also had I can't think of his name, Doug MacArthur, I think it was. He had a meat shop there
Yeah.
on the end.
Butcher's
and before
Pride.
him,
Butcher's
it was
Pride. Rent tool.
a what?
Rent tool.
No, there was also they had Dodgem cars.
Oh, a Hobby Highway.
Yeah, Hobby Highway.
I've got the grand opening ad for Hobby Highway.
Yeah,
Grand opening, Hobby Highway. I've got the ad.
yeah.
I've got the grand opening for Sunluck. That was the town's first big restaurant,
Yeah,
Sunluck.
Sunluck.
I've got the
Yeah.
grand opening ad for
Yeah.
Sunluck.
They opened about the same time as I did.
Yeah. I've got a sign saying coming soon, Sunluck. I've got the sign. The Ice Palace.
Yeah.
Grand opening for the Ice Palace. So all this stuff, you know. So to answer your question, the best stuff is when I snatch something that I know is going to get a lot of people interested, and I know there's a lot of memories out there, and I know that if it weren't for me, they'd never see it again. But now they can. I got it. I've got it, and it's not leaving my grip. I've got it.
So Bob, we've got about 2 minutes left. If somebody is at home tonight and they're watching this program and they say, wow, I have a rare gem that Bob is going to love.
My personal contact information is on that website. My cell phone and my email address is right in the About page. So burlingtonretro.com, click About. My email address and my cell phone is right there.
And if you have any doubt, you can call me or Adam, and we will get you to
We'll find a way to get you in touch with
So,
Bob.
yeah.
the most wanted stuff, IGA, gray squirrel, fresh spot. I have these things, but they're lousy quality. 128 drive-in. I have a picture of the marquee because there was a car accident there, and the car whacked the marquee and knocked out all the letters. But all that stuff, Caldor, all that stuff.
1 minute left. I don't.
Save Meadowbrook. Yeah,
Save Meadowbrook.
it's a pin.
The
Save
school,
Meadowbrook.
yeah.
I think it's too late.
I want to say thank you on behalf of Adam and myself for watching, and especially I want to say thank you to Bob for all of the fascinating stuff. I hope you plan to come back in about a year, less, and give us an update of what. And I do think you should think about writing your experience. Doesn't have to be long, but I think it could be very, very important. We have some great shows coming up. The 27th of February, and we have some very important people coming in March. The 2 dates in March, the 2nd Tuesday and the 4th Tuesday of March. You will be notified. Look for notices in the newspaper, if you will. We very much. How much time we got? We down to
Good night.
time? Good night. Thank you, Bob. Thank you very
Thanks
very
for
much.
joining us, Bob. Good night, everyone.
Adios.